So this morning, if you're thinking about taking out a loan, swiping a credit card, or buying a new car, prepare to pay more in interest. The Federal Reserve just announced it will raise interest rates by 0.75%, taking its most aggressive action in nearly 30 years.
Clearly, today's 75 basis point increase is an unusually large one, and I do not expect moves of this size to be common.
Joining us now is Peter Coy, New York Times opinion economics columnist, I should say. And Sultan Meghji, he's professor and scholar at Duke University's Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He's also the former chief innovation officer at the FDIC. Professor, I just want to start with you here. We haven't seen an interest hike this big in nearly 30 years. You don't do this unless you're very concerned about something. What is that something?
It's inflation. Day one, we've got to get inflation under control, and then day two, we have to try to manage this seemingly inevitable recession that's really emerged over the last few weeks. You know, they were trying to do this soft landing and spend, 18 to 24 months trying to soften it out. But the fact is the numbers just aren't taking us in the right direction. And so they rushed into this 75 basis point hike. They're probably going to do it again next time. And then we've got to figure out how to deal with some of the structural weaknesses, which is, what we were talking about right before we started.
So that's a lot of trouble that we're in. Exactly how much trouble are we in, do you think?
Well, if you look at the median forecasts from Wall Street, they do not see a recession coming, but they rarely do see a recession coming. Recessions are naturally hard to predict. The economy is not linear. It'll topple rather swiftly once things start to go bad. And when you raise interest rates, you're putting pressure on the system while you're addressing inflation, which is your goal. You're also running the risk that something's going to break. And what that break would mean would be rising unemployment rates, putting people out of work, and hurting them in a different way. So inflation hurts you one way, losing a job hurts you a different way.
Yeah, Professor, I was struck by the way you phrased your answer. The inevitable recession.
Yeah.
It's coming. What do you see that makes you think this is inevitable?
Well, you look at everything from fuel prices to grocery to baby formula. All of these things are still going. The GDP numbers are very soft. I think we're seeing a bunch of kind of intermittent, jagged activity there. And then now we're starting to see this happen in other countries. The Swiss central bank just raised their rates. I think a lot of us are looking to the Bank of Japan. So it's not just the United States, and we're seeing these kind of ripple effects start to reach out across that. In the midst of rates going up, inflation not necessarily slowing down. I think the numbers from this week showed that. And now, consumer spending starting to drop off. We're in a position where we've got a couple of different waves of activity, not all of which are aimed in a good direction.
We're not hearing that from the Biden administration, right? They're not saying that. So explain that. Is that because they don't want to put out bad news? Should they be preparing people for what could be inevitable, for this possibility?
You never want to talk yourself into a recession. You never want to be the bearer of bad news that actually can make people pessimistic and go into recession. So you tend to see administrations, Republican, Democrats alike, speaking positively about the economy. They want to keep people enthusiastic. At the same time, they want to send a very clear message. We are concerned. We're concerned right now about inflation. We care about you as people. We want to relieve that pressure. So the tendency is to say, we'll do what we have to do to conquer inflation, and running the risk that it will go accidentally too far.
Peter Coy, Sultan Meghji, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Nice to see you guys.